hiring a bunch of college grads without families and burning them out and churning them out. So, I mean, I don't think this is going to stop that practice because, like you said, they're going to be even more profit oriented now.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. This is episode 80. Exciting times. A nice rounded number in many ways. I, of course, am your host, Chris, joined as always by Baby Girl, who's on the couch, Pumpkin, who's right next to me. I think she's about to start clawing me. And every week we have a special guest. This week's guest is Tom Allenbaugh. How are you doing, Tom?
Not bad. Little sleepy this morning, but I mean, doing fine. I got coffee here, so
Good.
delicious nectar.
Yeah. I'm a little tired too. Just one of those weeks, I think. So Tom,
Still feels like it's only been 1 week since GDEX. I don't know. Like
I
time's been
know.
like compressed somehow.
Yeah, this GDEX, hi Pumpkin. This GDEX, like recovering from this GDEX, was like, yeah. It normally takes me about a week to like kind of get through the major exhaustion part, and then maybe another week, and I'm kind of back at it. But we're like 3 weeks out, or we're almost a month out, and I am still running on fumes here. So, but that's just how it be, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, last year we didn't even have time to be like running on fumes because we just immediately launched into like a huge project right after GDEX was over. So it was like,
well, that is something I'm going to talk
think.
about as part of today's. I think we're going to have, since you are here and you are part of the Multivarious GDEX team, we are going to talk about Pumpkin. Watch it there with your claws. I need to trim your claws. But we're going to talk about some behind the curtain stuff today. But before we do that, we got to talk about the big elefante in the room. I know you are a big fan of elephants.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for the most part. There's not a lot not to like about them.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to pull this up. This is on GameSpot. This is by Darren Bonthus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, but this is about the EA $55 billion acquisition. So EA's potential owners could control a portfolio of legacy IP, sporting games franchises, and established live service games if the $55 billion deal goes through. So just real fast, for those who may not be aware, this is all kind of happening this week. But EA is preparing to go private as the veteran video game company will be sold for an eye-watering sum of $55 billion to an investor consortium made up of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners, and the private equity firm Silver Lake. While this deal will require regulatory approval and sign-off by stockholders, EA is expected to have the deal completed Q1 fiscal year 27. So it's about another year and a half or so on this. They are going to be doing it for a purchasing price of, I believe, $210 per share. Yep, $210 per share, which when I first read this, it's not on here now, but when I first read this on Monday, it was, I think, at about $165 per share. So they were saying it's a 25% premium on the cost. So EA is going to be going private. Tom, any initial thoughts on that? Do you play any EA games?
Jeez, I mean, like the last one that I really trying to. I mean, they got their fingers in a lot of different things. So, but it's been a while. I mean, like probably like because they probably would count like a Maxis game because I think EA bought Maxis, right? So like. Whatever the last time I played a Maxis game was, might be the last time I played a EA as such, but I'd have to double check because they do be publishing. But this is weird. Yeah, it's hard. I can't trying to think of any other time. Yeah, well, everybody's always going public, so it's kind of rare to see somebody go private. because they've been public? Like, how does that work? Like, you just buying all the shares from, or were they public before?
Yeah, they're public. Like I
Yeah,
said,
they were
it
public
was about
before.
$165 a share.
So
24.
everybody with shares is getting their
They're
shares
getting
bought out.
they're getting $210 per share. That's what the buyout
Okay,
is going to be. So it's a
that's
25%
interesting. It's like
premium.
compelled to sell, basically, right? Like the
Well,
shareholders don't get to choose not to sell,
the
right?
shareholders do have to agree to it. That's definitely something that they have to do. And then
Mm.
there will be regulatory approval that's required. But as mentioned in the chat here, the fact that one of the
Yeah,
investment firms is Jared Kushner's, uh, do we really see the current U.S. government not approving this deal? I
yeah.
would
No, this
I would think that
seems
would be very
totally up
unlikely.
there. Yeah, I agree. This seems like the kind of thing. Like, I mean, the current administration's been trying to get pieces of all kinds of companies, like what Intel had some like golden share program where the United States owns like 10% of Intel now, which is super strange. Like, feels kind of like the government taking control of the of the means of production. It seems like counter to what I would assume a Republican administration would want to be doing. But this ain't a Republican administration. This is a Trump administration. So yeah, it seems right up their alley to just try to get a piece of a huge company like this. I mean, the whole happening at the same time as like the whole TikTok ByteDance thing
Mm-hmm.
also getting like finalized right now. They're just like snapping up chunks of companies left and right. Like they got Intel, TikTok, EA, like
Well, I mean,
trying to craft.
these are all separate entities, right? So the Intel thing is
Yeah,
a different
yeah,
deal than the EA
right. It's
deal.
just like it's kind of like this pattern of the government. This is more indirect, of course, because this is not
Yeah, the
like the
government won't own
Intel
anything
deal.
in EA.
Yeah, but it's like 1 degree of separation. Like they're keeping it close.
Yeah.
Um, Trying to build some kind of media empire or something.
Well, I mean, I think that there's also we'll just sort of say this because whatever. But like EA doesn't have the best track record of their monetization systems, we'll say. So in terms of being good for the consumer and the players, so I don't know if this will improve their how do you phrase it? Is this going to improve the user experience for gamers, or is this just going to more or less allow them to engage in some of the more negative behavior of the past? And I think that there's certain things like if you're these investment groups, if they're paying a 25% premium, then they're going to need to grow EA to the point where it's going to be more than 25% because otherwise they haven't broken even yet. And so that 25% premium is going to be a pressure that I imagine this investment group, just like any other investment group would have. VC companies and whatnot don't buy things to lose money. That's not really what they try to do. So I don't know if that's going to push EA to start monetizing products in ways that are even sort of shadier and lamer than
Yeah,
they have in the past. I don't know.
kind of curious of the breakdown between the Saudi Arabia interest group and the Kushner firm, and what was the other? There's like a third
Yeah, the
one that
Silver
was
Lake.
involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Saudi Arabia seems to invest in stuff just for like cultural, um, like it's a big thing in like the past decade of them like sports washing, where they're like investing and getting involved in like world famous sporting events just to like raise their renown
Sure.
and try to distract from maybe some human rights abuses and things.
Yeah, well,
Um,
they definitely have what is it Live, I think, is the PGA golf competitor that they were kind of getting spun up.
yeah, live,
Live.
yeah, LIV, yeah, right,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's their golf thing. And they think that like a lot of other Olympic sports they've been getting involved with. I mean, if they're the track record of just EA, like you said, like I'm not sure how this is going to affect the consumer, but I know that EA in particular has also had a poor track record with their own like employees, or their model of hiring a bunch of college grads without families and burning them out and churning them out. So I mean, I don't think this is going to stop that practice, because they're, like you said, they're going to be even more profit oriented now. They got to make that 25%
Yeah.
return for their people. So
I mean, we'll yeah,
see,
we'll kind of see, right? Because like on the one hand, when you have shareholders, you have to make sure you're increasing shareholder value, otherwise the shareholders get angry.
mhm.
But also having a diverse set of shareholders also means that you'll have more people making statements and such when something isn't the way that they think it should be. And now with only a couple of these companies, and one of them, being a Saudi Arabian backed company, there's probably serious questions about how is content going to be created. Like if my guess would be that we will probably see fewer Middle East states represented as villains in games, which I'm not saying is bad or good. It just, will be a reaction, I would think. But I don't know. I don't really, here, let's look through. I don't really play much.
Another aspect of EA is they have basic. I mean, they're nobody thinks about it, but they do have a store. It's like the EA Origin. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have their own like internal Steam type
Yeah,
app
their
store thing.
platform.
So
Well,
I wonder if how much of this is like them wanting to expand on that and get
yeah.
it out, keep pushing it more.
Well, here's a list of these are the big games that were listed in the article. Battlefield, Need for Speed, Medal of Honor, Madden Football, EA Sports FC, The Sims, Mirror's Edge, Titanfall, Apex Legends, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Dead Space, Plants vs Zombies, Command and Conquer, Skate, Army of Two, Bejeweled, and Peggle. I personally do not play any of these games. I
Yeah,
mean, Mass
Dead Space
Effect.
is cool. Yeah.
I get spooky games. They're too spooky, too scary. But Mass Effect, I know they're working on a Mass Effect 4. I was pretty excited about that, but I just don't. There isn't much for me personally in the EA ecosystem that I care about. But
Mhm.
I do care about the quality of what's being created, as because I care about games tremendously. I think they're an important art form. And I also know that EA tends to be, they tend to be the ones that like I said, they engage in the more suspicious monetization strategies. And I just don't want a lot of those like gambling, loot box, Skinner box kind of things permeating the rest of the gaming world. And it seems like over the past maybe decade or so, the games industry has pulled away from a lot of those. Like I think the app stores from like 2008 to maybe 2015, there was a lot of bad monetization systems in the app store world that then, you know, branched out into the rest of gaming. But then after a while, things kind of settled down. Particularly, I think we started to see some stuff when we saw like The Witcher, Last of Us, when we saw big single player games show a lot of financial stability, like, financial success. I think a lot of people are like, oh, we don't have to do all these like kind of crappy monetization systems to make money. We can just make a really good game and then people will buy it. So it seems like we kind of got into that space for a while, which is great. The other thing that I'm kind of curious about is that over the past couple of years, there's been a pretty big buying spree of studios between Xbox and Sony. Xbox buying, Activision Blizzard and Bethesda and all that. Sony bought Bungie. They bought Housemarque. They bought Bluepoint. There was some talk about how Sony might buy Square Enix. Ubisoft is constantly, it seems like they're being talked about as being purchased or at least hostily taken over But removing EA off the board as a purchasable asset doesn't really leave a lot of larger game studios, right? Capcom, Konami, From Software. I mentioned Ubisoft. I'm trying to think like what other like big, medium to big studios, like Larian maybe, the Baldur's Gate world.
Yeah, like some of the start dipping into double A studios at that point, like Rockstar. I don't think
Yeah,
they're not.
I don't Rockstar. I mean, well, Rockstar is a 2K thing, and I just don't see it. Like, who would give up Rockstar, right? Unless
Yeah,
GTA
yeah,
6 is such an absolute disaster financially. But even then, GTA 5 is still making like an insane amount of money. That game's been out for
yeah,
12 years,
yeah.
and
That
it's
post life of that
regularly
game's had such legs. Yeah,
yeah. GTA 5 is regularly in the top 10 games every month, even though it came out 12, 13 years ago.
I noticed EA actually replaced their Origin app with just the EA app, and that happened like 3 years ago, and it just replaced the Origin app.
Okay.
So they obviously been shifting internally on that front. They're trying to really make this something that can compete with Steam. I mean, I'm kind of skeptical, but I mean, if that's coming into play with, why they're being purchased because somebody wants to just have a already ready to go like game app store type portal like storefront to play with, and like that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, their catalog is, I mean, it's got, there's tons of people addicted to The Sims 4 and spending a lot of money like on that. There's tons of people addicted to a few of the other titles in their catalog. I think people still play Apex Legends, don't they? Like, I know
Yeah. I
people are
don't.
definitely playing Battlefield.
Sure.
A lot of
Yeah.
Europeans playing football,
I'm just
football
curious.
club.
I'm just curious what. I mean, it seemed like the consolidation that Caleb mentioned. Yeah, we had a lot of consolidation. It seemed like a lot of that has cooled down over the past year. A lot of the big purchases are kind of done for the moment, at least. When we got into our little arms race between Microsoft and Sony. But yeah, with again EA being off the board, I just don't see. I could see Sony wanting From Software or Square Enix, maybe Capcom. Konami just seems like they're kind of a hot mess these days. So I guess I don't know if you want to put in. Oh my God, why am I Kojima's company? Like
Yeah.
like that could be one that might be interesting for acquisition. I don't know if Hideo would want to sell. Like he just got out of the clutches of Konami. Like would he want to go be a part of another studio? I don't know. But
Hiring right now, apparently. Kojima.
what is that?
Kojima Productions. They're hiring right now, apparently. So
Mm. Yeah,
obviously they're
they're doing a lot of
planning to
stuff.
grow.
I'm a little worried, just as kind of someone who's run a business for a while. Is one of the big things that a lot of big mistakes a lot of new business owners make is they grow too fast, too quick,
Mm.
and then it ends up like increasing their monthly costs, their burn rate substantially, and then they aren't able to really, you know, um,
Yeah.
stay on
Yeah.
top of it. But Kojima, he's I think Death
Mm.
Stranding 2, I think sold pretty well, and so I don't know. Well, it's his
External
business. He do what he
financial
wants.
pressures is just the name of the game, really. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
but yeah,
I
I
mean,
think I think
I did not see this coming. Like, just sitting down for the show and hearing about this, I'm like, yeah, that is quite a. I don't know if it's a what you call a watershed moment. I think we already kind of had the.
yeah,
I
I
feel
think
like
our
the whole
watershed
layoff.
moment was a couple of years ago, but
Yeah, the almost 2 years straight of layoffs and bubble bursting and AI coming in and being a brand new shiny bubble for people to hyperinflate and just getting people's priorities all scattered to the wind, and all these people trying to make money instead of making art. It's depressing,
hey,
but
stop.
it,
Yeah, well, big news. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'm not really sure how that will impact the industry overall. Um, I don't know. Like I said, EA has been, has a history of being not a great company in general, for both consumers and employees. So who knows what that will lead to. And I know it's regularly, I don't even know if they still do the worst game company in the world or whatever, but EA was rated like worst game company in the world, like year after year after year for many, many years. So I'm not sure if that matters at all in today's world, but just thought
I
that
mean,
was.
the Wikipedia has a criticism of Electronic Arts page of it's a page just for criticism of EA. That's
Okay.
it's incredible.
Okay.
Wikipedia would do that, throwing shade like that. Wikipedia.
All
There's so
right.
much criticism that it's academically relevant.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
but
Well, I guess we can jump to the next topic here. If sorry, I'm just waiting for this webpage to load. Right. Um. There we go. Okay. I need. Oh, I lost it. Where did it go? There it is. So we will continue our trend. Now, this is a more generalized thing here. I feel like this is just a ball of negativity today, but this is on CNN. Alicia Wallace. U.S. economy lost 32,000 private sector jobs in September. Private payroll plunged in September, complicating the picture for the U.S. economy as policymakers and investors struggle to assess the state of the labor market amid a government shutdown. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is unlikely to release the monthly jobs report this Friday due to the closure. That means that many flying blind without critical economic data are having to key into any information they can get, including Wednesday's private job sector job numbers from payroll company ADP. U.S. private sector business lost 32,000 jobs in September, according to a report. August previously estimated 54,000 payroll gains were downwardly revised to a negative 3,000, so a 57,000 loss. Small private sector business drove last month's decline, and losses were widespread across industries, with some of the largest losses being in the professional and business services and leisure and hospitality, ADP reported. The bulk of the hiring occurred at healthcare businesses. So,
let's take care of all the people who are stressed out from everything else,
yeah.
having
So,
heart attacks and stuff.
yeah, we're
Jeez.
definitely seeing a loss of jobs right now. We saw, like Xbox we talked about in June, laid off almost 10,000 people. I would not be surprised if we see layoffs at EA as a result of this buyout, although, like I said, they're looking at Q1 2027, so that'll be a while down the road. But it seems like this is going to be a rough time for just the industries in general, and I figure we could talk behind the curtain here at Multivarious and GDEX, because we are also having a rough time, being that this is probably one of the worst times for our client dev side that we've ever had. So we do not have any current projects, client projects. We got a couple support agreements we're doing, but no current client projects, which is not a great place to be. And that seems that is a common trend among many of the small businesses right now. You want to get down, sweetheart? You want to say hi, everybody? Hi.
And geez, like last year, GX was so rough, but we at least had some work lined up. And this year, GDEX was okay, but we don't have any work lined up. So it's like, yeah, it's. And I can't believe firing the bean counters didn't make the numbers go up. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Can't believe that didn't work. I'm actually more surprised that whoever's in that position now isn't like the numbers have continued to go down more and more. So the very least, whoever's in that position now is not just purely lying, and they're still publishing numbers that are like truthful.
Well, that you're talking about the Bureau of
Seemingly.
Labor Statistics. The numbers I just read are from ADP, which is a payroll company. We don't have any Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers, and we
Right, and we won't
probably
because of the shutdown.
because of the shutdown. So
Yeah, so it's just it's wild.
yeah. So I'm not saying this to be all doom and gloom and that the sky is falling and everything is falling apart, but that if you are a small business, particularly in the games and tech space, that you're probably, like we're going to need to go into a very lean period to be able
Hmm.
to survive. So all those fat stores that you hopefully have built on you, you can use to sustain you for a while, because I think it is going to be a pretty tight time. And you mentioned GDEX. Like, GDEX as a show was awesome. It was so much fun, but our sponsorship was just really light. It was about 35% of what we normally would get. And that difference is enough to make it a loss or a positive. So we ran, just being transparent, GDEX ran at a loss again this year, though it was much better than last year because of our ticket sales and stuff. But, we depend on our sponsorships to cover the base, like rental costs and decorating costs and things like that. And we just didn't get there this year. Also, our PJ
Out to
bottoms.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, nobody buys our PJ bottoms. It surprises me. They're so good. They're so comfy, but nobody buys them. Did you say we
Yeah,
should go?
it
We should
is
go
weird.
sell to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, just reach out and see if they want to buy and everything else. Yeah, it's rough. I mean, and the economy is such a vibes thing. Like, people feel like things are bad, then they death grip their money, and then things get worse because the economy is just purely people spending money on things. So if they're not spending, then things get worse, and then people get even more anxious, and round and round the cycle goes. I mean, I wish we could just be like, hey, our show provided like a respite from the doom and gloom of the world, and people came and had a great time, and we did it for relatively inexpensively. And I wish that was like something that more investors would like, be want to be part of, something like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can, maybe we'll have a compelling story to tell as we enter our talks for 2026 with various potential sponsors and all the people we reach out to every time. Maybe they can see, we're still kicking despite everything. Like, and that we have a community that really cares a lot, a very passionate community, and I feel like brands should want to get their names in front of our people because our people are very kind and generous, and they appreciate they appreciate when people help us out. And so yeah, I mean, we'll just have to keep pushing as hard as we can,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
usual.
Well,
But
I want to talk more about, because we could sit here for the next half hour and just complain about the state of the economy and how
yeah,
bad the
yeah,
world
yeah,
is. But what I thought was interesting, since I have you on, is, can we talk about like specific steps? Like, what are actions? Because this is not the first downturn we've had at Multivarious, right? We've been running since 2012. You were the first employee brought on in, like, what was that, April of 2014?
yeah,
We've gone through probably three major downturns in the time that we've been around over the past, 13, 14 years here. Um, and so there are things that I think we can talk about, specifics. And of course, for those in the chat, feel free to ask questions. If you have any questions about, how do you run a business, a small business, how do you run a small indie studio, those kind of things. But I was like, maybe we talk about some specifics about ways that could be actually helpful for those, like, let's put our teaching hats on and our experience hats and see if we can
yeah,
actually, talk about meaningful steps that we could take. How's that sound? Does that sound fun?
yeah. Sounds fun.
So I think the first thing, and this is, I think, always maybe the hardest for folks to get over. Oh, as we have Caleb say, so grateful for GDEX. Thank you, Caleb. We are super grateful for you and all the help that you've given to the community and to GDEX for over a decade. So thank you so much.
Caleb is the goat.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah. Um, I think the first thing I think we have to talk about when you're running an indie studio or any kind of small business is, like, to be blunt, you just kind of have to have the stomach for it. You have to be able to understand that things are gonna, sometimes when it rains, it pours, and that rain can be a good thing, and sometimes it can be a bad thing. And I think a lot of people get caught off guard. I've seen this. This is probably the number one thing I've seen when people move from like a corporate world or a AAA world and they start their own indie studio. And then they're just like, this is really hard and I'm not getting paid. And I'm like, yeah, yes.
Yeah.
When you're going from an environment where you're receiving, a paycheck every 2 weeks, regardless of what's going on, if you take sick time or whatever, and you go into a world where you may not get paid if you don't bring in client work or if you don't bring in the sales. Like if there is no money, there is no money, right? So I think that's the first thing to maybe talk about is just how do you build that kind of like, if you want to call it resilience or mentality. So I'd be curious to your thoughts, Tom, as someone who's been doing it for over a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think with the way, because we very much as a studio, we're always torn between those two incentives of we want to make our own stuff. We're always looking for what we can do to get back to making our own stuff. But I mean, getting back, like kind of backed into the corner financially and being forced to take, you know, odd jobs and external work. I think it's really important for any group of people to treat that work very seriously and see it as a way to build your um, to build your brand and your reputation. Just in the business community in general, I think that's something we've done very well. But like the clients that we have are super happy with us, and if they don't have work for us, it's because they don't have work to give us. Like it's not because they're dissatisfied with what we do.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have been really fortunate to find a series of opportunities that have been able to build on itself and open more doors and it's on the one hand, it is kind of like regrettable that we have to focus so much on external work, but it's all skill building. So you can't just see it as like it's more than just a means to an end. We're also building, also like rounding out, areas of your skill sets, and like, we are so much more capable to, I mean, a lot of the client work, especially like this last year, we've had a lot of work that's been good for, especially for me, to really round out some of those edges of building like a major piece of like a web app.
Mm-hmm.
And like we are sort of behind the curtains ish, so trying to position a product within our kind of biz dev corner where GDEX is, and this Sandbox podcast itself, and the accelerator that we've done. We're kind of like working in the lab to like fuse this stuff together, but it's the fact that it is an internal project, and we are just doing it on our own skin because like we have unfortunately we have spare time, because
Yeah.
if we had a job lined up, we wouldn't have the spare time to work on the internal things. So, but I think like we wouldn't be where we are without like the having the opportunity to work with really awesome companies like Tyvara and Roto and other local businesses around town.
Lots of
I
really cool
think,
healthcare projects.
yeah, we've been able to lock arms, especially like locally in Columbus, and like lock arms with other businesses and just help them be successful, and they've been able to help us be successful. It's really hard. I mean, at this point, looking back, I mean, it, if we had to start all over from the beginning, like, yeah, it's such a steep climb to get those first jobs, get that initial trust where somebody, and that's a big advantage for people coming from the AAA scene, is they can come in with like a reputation, and they can talk to people, and people will trust them based on what they've done in the AAA space. But since we just had to start from scratch and really just build it up
Well,
by the
sorry, I was gonna say
go ahead.
you've hit on a lot of things. I think you're right. I do think I have noticed though a lot of, particularly now with publishers and funders, um, having a name in the AAA space, unless you're like a Hideo Kojima or somebody, like having a name in the AAA space isn't what it used to be. I've seen a lot of a lot of folks that are well regarded in the AAA space being completely unable to get funding because they're like, okay, well, where is your prototype? You know, where's your roadmap and all that, and do you have other sources of funding? Do you have a strong marketing plan? Like a lot of the stuff that, you know, like if you're at a large AAA studio, right? Let's say you are a lead designer. There's a lot of stuff that is taken care of for you that you probably don't think about, that if you move into your own business, you have to do yourself. Like, you know, big triple like EA, right? EA has a legal team, and they have an accounting team, and they have a marketing team, and they have an events team. And so when you're a lead designer at a game, you can focus on the game because you don't have to worry about, yes, you're working with the marketing team, but you are not in charge of creating all the marketing assets and doing the marketing plan. You know, you've got lawyers who can make your agreements for you and whatnot. When you own your own business, you got to do all that shit yourself. And if you bring in people to help you, that costs money, right? You know, you pull in a lawyer, you're going to be spending anywhere between $200 to $500 an hour on that lawyer to help you out with stuff. But I wrote down a bunch of the things you said, and we can go through them one on one. But before we do any of that, just real fast, we got a comment. I think the work you've done over the years has been really productive for your state and promoting growth for game development with the area through hosting events like GDEX. I agree. And I'm glad that people really like it. And I do think that it brings in people to Columbus and Ohio that ordinarily would not think twice about the state. And I think that's really good. And the fact that I think we can provide a really good environment, which goes to one, I think it goes to my expectations of what I want the event to be and the quality that I want it to be, and just the general vibe of what we want GDEX to be. And then of course the team that surrounds Multivarious and everyone to help make that happen. And I think like a big thing that we do, for example, is we are incredibly well organized when it comes to an event. And we have been told that numerous times. And it's oftentimes I'll work with
size, like the team, amount of organization relative to our size is pretty.
But even like
way above our weight.
I mean, yeah, we've been told that we are we are significantly better organized than like Reed Pop, who runs PAX, for example, and others. And so I think that that's part of how we've managed to do this. It is funny when we work with new partners, or sometimes we bring in new experiences. I'll get a whole bunch of emails where people will have like a bunch of questions, and they're like, I was like, oh, I need to know about this. And I'm like, look, I feel you. I know you need the answers to this. Don't worry about it. We've got it taken care of. And they're like, wait, you have this, and this? I was like, yep. Volunteer will be there. When you show up, they'll show you where you need to go, and they'll get you situated. You don't even need to worry about it. We'll tell you where to park. We'll tell you where to load. We'll show you where your booth is. If you need anything like electricity or whatever, we'll tell you where to get that. And if you need anything else, just let the team know, let myself or the team know. And that's where we have folks like, you know, Caleb and Henry and others on the volunteer side that we have been told consistently that we have like the best volunteers of any event. Because we're there to help, because we want everybody to have a good experience, not just the guests, not just the VIPs, but the exhibitors as well. But I want to jump back. Oh, yeah. So you want to say something real quick?
I think because it makes a difference that we are eating the dog food that we're selling to people. Like we are in the trenches, just like all the exhibitors.
Maybe are we eating we're eating the well prepared meals that everyone else is eating. Yeah, so I do want to jump.
Yeah, just to mean that we have a skin in the game, that we are basically like all of the exhibitors that come to GDEX. We just happen to be the ones who are at the helm of this.
Yeah.
As a grassroots kind of institution. That's a way different than another, like if a company's just managing an event, that their whole goal is to just monetize the event and keep it running, versus us, where we're just like, well, we just want to make stuff too, and we just want to provide a platform where we can all come together and support each other and lean on each other. It's just a different vibe than a lot of the other events, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. It's also something that I've been saying in my sort of campaigning, when I'm wearing my campaign hat, is that, you know, when you are in it and you are a part of it, you understand it better. and we understand what it's like to be an indie dev, and that's why we try to provide, like, I think our booth prices are, it's $300 for a 4-day show, 3 days of exhibiting. Like,
Yeah.
we try to be as cost effective as we can. We're not nickel and diming guests. Now you could argue maybe some of these are the reasons why we don't make any money on this show, but our goal is to help people be successful. But I want to jump back to the first question I asked you, because I think this is the important part. We can talk about specific steps on some of these other things you brought up and how you can do it, but I really do think the mentality of understanding, the mentality around being in a small business or an indie studio is different than being in a corporate world. Like, so I'm just sort of asking you specifically, like, how do you handle things with, like, when we're going to go into a lean period, like when we're going into right now, how do you personally be like, okay, here's the things I need to do. Here's the things I need to change. Maybe I need to, I don't know, I need to stop eating out or something, whatever it is, right? Like, how do you set yourself up for success knowing that we could be in a lean period for a while and then we'll come out of it and we'll be able to kind of, navigate, but we're going to be in those up and down periods. A lot of people can't do that. Like, they can't handle being in a down period for 3 or 4 months. They just don't have the wherewithal or the experience to do it. So I'm kind of curious, just your personal experience as someone who's been in an indie studio for a long time.
I do, like, for my personal, I do have a budget app that I use to try to keep a handle on my finances. I kind of, like, I'm in a weird position because I don't have, like, a traditional family, but I do have a household. I have roommates. My sister lives with me, so my budget app also kind of covers, like I'm keeping an eye on the house budget as well. I mean, we just to, like, make sure everybody that I live with is paying their fair share. Obviously, it helps me that, because we are one of the benefits of being an indie studio is that we're all kind of very horizontal as an organization, so we're always talking to each other. And, like, you let me know whenever we are going into a lean period so that I can tell my family, my chosen family, my support system that I'm going to be, that I'm going to be lean. Obviously, there are, like, kind of expenses that can be cut out, like you mentioned, like just, and it's been hard because, like, eating out and groceries are really battling each other for cost effectiveness, because
Yeah.
the grocery costs have just been, it's been like, just try to, our grocery trips are just straight up looking for sales, looking for deals, and that's like that's pretty much it. If it's not on sale, we probably didn't buy it from the grocery store unless it was like a very important commodity like milk or something, which usually doesn't go on sale. But yeah, just having a budget app, keeping, because if you let that stuff get away from you, I mean, you can spend a whole work week just catching up on it, like for like a quarter, like just keeping track of all the ins and outs, and trying to make it so that it's a continuous thing. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like time tracking when you're working on a project. When you're sit down and do some work, log your time for it. If you can, like, my big thing has just been trying to budget continuously as well. And once you have, like, a year or two in, like, in a budget app, so I use You Need a Budget. That's the one I use. I know there's a ton out there. Probably a lot that are better than the one I'm using. But once you have, like, an annual cycle, like, in there, it really helps you, like, foresee and predict what your needs are going to be. So, and that's, not helpful for somebody who's, like, starting out and they don't have a year's worth of data or more. Like, I have, like, 4 years of data in my budget at least, probably more than that. So it's really helpful. I can see, like,
well, what you're
just
really
the ups
talking
and
about,
downs.
is habit building, and it takes a while to, there's kind of rough numbers, but most people say it takes about 2 weeks to kind of start a behavior change, and it takes about 3 or 4 months before you begin to solidify that behavior change. But yeah, like what you're talking about as you start to gather data and whatnot. This applies to finances. This applies to, like, food. Like, let's say you want to lose weight, you start kind of calorie counting and macro counting your food calories and whatnot. After a while, you've built it into the back of your mind where you're like, I know how many calories this banana has. I know how many calories are in this food. So like you don't need to track everything perfectly. But in those initial stages, like you do need to. And when it comes to money, well, both money and calories, you'd be surprised how much you're actually spending. You know, where you're just like all these little things you don't think about. And then once you start calculating them, you're like, holy shit, I spent $500 on whatever, right? Before you know
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I think those are all really important steps. And I also think, again, the mentality that you build in is super important. One of the things I encourage people, this applies if you have a full-time job, but definitely when you are in your own business or a small business, is stop looking at money as this thing that comes to you every 2 weeks and start looking at money as a way to build assets for the future. So when you get $2,000, I don't know, for a paycheck or something, right? Like let's just say you get your OSU paycheck comes in and you get your $2,000 or whatever, and then some money of that's taken out because of benefits and other things. And so like let's just say you end up with $1,500 or whatever, right? Don't treat that $1,500 in the back of your mind as like every 2 weeks I'm going to get $1,500. Like look at it as like, okay, what can I do with this $1,500 that is going to slowly and incrementally set me up for success, and or put me in a position where when things get bad, I have something to draw from. So the first things are always your basics, right? Your food, rent, utilities. Make sure all those are taken care of. Then the second thing is your debt. And I want to talk about debt for a second because as an indie studio, I see this. We made this mistake several times. I will take the blame on this one. But you see this a lot of time. Do not put yourself into debt, particularly for your business if you can. Like we have been spending the past probably 5 years trying to get ourselves out of debt. We're slowly chipping away at it. We're looking at doing a debt consolidation right now to kind of help us with that. But, you know, for example, when we moved into the mill and we outfitted that with all that, the desks and the equipment and everything, we spent about, I think it was like $18,000 on that equipment. Looking back at it now, I was like, you know what? We probably could have outfitted that space for like 8 to 10 grand, right?
Yeah.
And like I know a friend who runs one of the big furnishing companies here. He's the CEO. He gave us a really good deal on it, but it was still like upper tier level office stuff, desks and chairs and things. And like they were really nice. Like I don't know, our chairs were super awesome. And but you know, looking at it, I was like, we probably could have gone to Walmart and gotten a lot of this stuff for significantly less, right?
Sitting in one of those chairs right now, actually.
Yeah. So there you go. And it's funny because you know you think about it, it's like, well, you're going to buy this stuff. You don't want to buy crap, right? You want to buy stuff that's going to last. But it's like the equipment that we bought probably would last us 10 to 15 years. I mean, you've been using it, you know, about not quite
Yep.
10 years now, but and then we have the desks. Are you still using one of the MVG desks?
Yeah. Not at this time, but I do have one of the MVG desks. I think it's in the basement right now. We were
Okay.
gonna use it for
Regardless,
yeah,
like
yeah. It's in
it's
use.
it's good stuff. It'll last a while, but then you think about it, we didn't actually stay in that office for 10 years,
Yeah.
right? So we ended up moving it, all that stuff, to the Idea Foundry, and then we were there for about 5 years. So all in all, what was that, like 6 years of stuff? And then we ended up having to move it because of COVID, and then we just ended up selling it. It's like we could have gotten away for something 25% of the cost that maybe only lasted 4 or 5 years, you know, and then
Yeah.
we could have
If we
sold
had
it.
yeah. If we had known about COVID in 2014, then yeah, we'd make a lot of decisions differently, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But my point is, you can think about these
Yeah.
things. You can be
Yeah.
like, okay, we can buy decent quality stuff at a reasonable price, not put ourselves into debt, because debt's what gets you, right? Like if you don't have any
Yeah.
debt, then when things get real lean, you can be like, okay, I'm going to cut down to basics, rent, utilities, and groceries. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going out, not going to concerts and stuff and whatever. That's a lot easier to do when you don't have $800,000, $1,200 in debt coming at you every month. you know. And so that's a big thing is if you can find a way to do it and get rid of that debt. Like I said, that's a lesson learned from us. We're still working on it, working on the debt that we have, trying to knock that out.
Yeah, getting rid of debt is kind of like building savings, but it doesn't feel as good.
Yeah,
It's you really gotta be removed from the kind of reptilian brain of what to do with your money and really see the paying off of the debt as having a long-term benefit.
yeah,
Um, and it's, it's really like we were, there's just those times where, you either go into a little bit of debt or like you just shutter, I guess, for a while until you get another opportunity. Now that we're remote, I mean, we could feasibly choose to do that. Like, if we really needed to, we could like hibernate or something because we don't have any standing expenses for running our office. But that's not really conducive to making money. So it's like just a not a good situation to be in, and
hmm
it's the debt has kept. I don't know. Would we, if we went back and never took out any debt, would we have been able to stay alive as a company? I'm not sure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't. That's another
so
question. Is like there was definitely times where we did need to take out some debt to cover some expenses. Um, but then you could also wonder like, well, if we hadn't taken out debt for these other things, maybe we would have. Yeah, and sometimes there's not like again, we're talking about 15 years ago, right? Like decisions we made over the past 15 years. So I'm relaying them to folks on the stream as learning lessons that people can learn from our situation,
yeah,
and hopefully not make the same mistakes or make smarter
yeah.
moves. Um,
Yeah, really avoid that if you can, but if you can't, then I mean, it does build your business credit to pay that stuff off, and
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's got to be worth something. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
you just be careful with it because that also gets you to, you mentioned the ramp up time. Whenever, whether it's client work or you're making a game, there's just a period of time where you're not going to be making any money. Like getting your first client is always really hard. And if you're making a game, you're looking at a 2 or 3 year dev cycle generally, and you're not earning any money during that period because you don't have a product, right? Maybe you can get some like community support through like Patreon or early access or something, but you're ultimately just not going to be able to do it, and it's
yeah,
tough. It's
and
tough.
even those things are like you like kind of need to already have some kind of a community in place. So
hmm
I mean, I think the heart of it is like if you're really passionate about what you want to do, and before you're at that point where you're a business with standing expenses, like you should be finding ways to push on your projects in a way that's conducive with your like day job and things. Like you should be able to you need to get organized enough so that you can manage a project even if you only have like one day a week to work on it. As soon as you get that first thing out and people realize that you're an actual bona fide thing, you can make stuff, and then that opens all the doors. But if you're like really starting out completely from scratch, you don't have a AAA background, like we didn't have a AAA background. If you're just starting completely from scratch, it's just getting that first thing out, that whatever you, by hook or by crook, you got to get that first thing out so that you're not just whispering sweet nothings to potential investors, but you actually have something you can point to. And it's not easy to do all of the work and overhead required to like build a game or like make a similar kind of project, and also like deal with your real life. It's
hmm
not easy,
Yeah, totally.
but that's something I think we provide a lot of resources and support for up and comers in our area, because we remember being one of those. And I mean, that's why GDEX exists, so that other people, we're trying to give the business environment that we wish we had had at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, that
um
that fits into the last thing I want to talk about real quick, since we're kind of getting out on time. Is that if you're ever doing something new, if you're the first into the breach, as they say, um, it's going to be a lot harder because there's just no one has worn the path down for you. No one has set up the supply depots along the road, and so you get into a position, and that's where we've been in for a long time, where we've built everything from scratch here, like literally, like we've built GDEX up from nothing. It did not exist until we started it. Cog has been, building and growing. Multivarious, like even we're all teachers, so the educational system in Ohio, in a meaningful, significant way, is built around the work that we have done. I've worked with Shawnee State, Miami, Kent, OU, OSU, Columbus State, obviously. And so the educational system in this state, in a large part, has been supported by what we're doing, and that's of course counting the students and whatnot. And so, whenever you're first in there, you just got to realize you're not going to get a lot of support, right? You're going to have to find ways to prove yourself. Maybe marry someone that's independently wealthy. I don't know, but I also think that
we actually go ahead.
No, go.
I was gonna say, like, because where we started, because we kind of were forged in the intersection between like an after school program and like COG, that like the hobbyist and the educational like aspects, like that was kind of like the Venn diagram that we sprung out of. So we were kind of surrounded by passionate people the whole way. So we had that was a big benefit for us. Even though they didn't have money to give us, they had passion and ideas and energy, and that just kind of was the kickstart that we needed to really get up and do it. And so now that we have GDEX, that's our avenue to try to offer that to other people. But that's an intangible kind of thing that is very necessary if you don't have again investors or somebody from the AAA space who knows a thing or two and can help guide you. If you're full grassrootsing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is some of the stuff we're working on behind the scenes. Since, like you said, we don't have client work right now, we're kind of working on some of this other stuff. Is like maybe we can use this to really capitalize on what we've built over the past 10 years and provide even more opportunities for people, and then ideally be able to monetize it so that we can eat. And so if we can get, these pieces that we've kind of put into place, if we can get them all connected in this really strong ecosystem,
someday you'll be able to log into GDEX. Someday.
Log into GDEX. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I don't know if any of that was helpful for folks in the audience, like the people that are looking into, maybe they're hobbyists or they're students or they're looking at starting their own business and they just see
a part two.
Yeah.
Kind of set up a part two almost.
Yeah, maybe if this kind of conversation is useful for people, I guess let us know in the comments. Because I honestly think that we are heading into a rough patch in the industry for probably a couple years here. And so I don't want to see folks struggling more than they have to. And if there's ways that, just we can provide education and wisdom to help you out, that's great. If there's connections or networks that we can do, that's awesome too. But I was just sort of thinking about sort of the state of the world. And I saw those economic numbers this morning, and the fact that we personally are going through a tough time at the business. I was like, maybe this is worth talking about, because if we're going through this challenge, like a lot of other people are going to be as well. But we have the experience and wisdom and maybe hindsight that newer teams might not have. So maybe we can provide some value in that context. So I guess let us know if this was worth the conversation or not. But
Philip said, thanks for your honest discussion of what is a hard topic. I'm going to say that like a big problem with the economy and maybe society too, but is that people try to shove things under the rug and pretend like everything's fine when they're not. And then that's just what happens in the economy. I mean, that's like people looking for investment. They're not talking about their challenges. They're talking about the upside only. And it's kind of misleading. So I think that's a big part of what's gotten us here collectively, is that the lack of willingness to be transparent and really talk about the challenges. So I'm happy to keep doing that with you. Is we'll just keep slapping it till it starts moving for us.
I guess, yeah. All right. Well, I think that was a great discussion. Thank you everybody for the questions and whatnot in the chat. So we'll go and wrap it up, because this has been episode 80 of the Sandbox.Space Weekly podcast. This one just flew by. Of course, remember that we do this every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/the GDEX. We also post it on our YouTube channel, so you can find the Sandbox.Space Weekly podcast on that. But otherwise, really appreciate it. Thank you to Baby and Pumpkin, or on behalf of Baby and Pumpkin. Thank you, Thomas, for being on the show today. Thank you, everybody in chat. All the viewers, feel free to throw comments down in the comments on the YouTube video. But otherwise, this has been episode 80 of the Sandbox.Space Weekly podcast. Thank you so much, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for coming.